Well, hi, I'm Laura and welcome to the channel. Today we're going to talk about initiators. Actually, I'm going to ask you a question. Are you an initiator? Do you tend to be the one that reaches out? Do you prefer that others reach out to you, your girlfriends, your friendships, people in your life? Or are you a hybrid? Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't, depends on the situation. Well, again, welcome to the channel. Glad to have you here. Actually, this topic came out of your comments, and I've really been thinking a lot about it lately and talking to the women that are in my life, including my mom and my sister and many of my girlfriends. We all seem to fall into a pattern. So today we're going to talk about that pattern and how it affects our friendships and how it affects our ability to make friends or to recognize when someone wants to be our friend. So I've heard from many of you that everything from I'm tired of always being the one that has to plan the get together, the coffee, I have to reach out. One woman said, if I don't initiate a get together with this gal who I've known for 15 years, who I enjoy, who I spend time with, and we both get a lot out of it. We always leave our get together saying, can't wait to see you next time. She gets in the car, she feels great. But she said if she doesn't reach out to this other gal, she fears that she won't ever hear from her. And she's tested the waters a few times and she hasn't heard anything. But when she does reach out, this other woman is so excited to hear from her and super flexible getting on the schedule. I mean, we've all been there where we've called someone or texted someone and they're a little slow getting back to us. They have a difficult time being pinned down with one date or the other. And let's face it, after a while, you get the hint. But guess what? It's okay to always be the initiator. And in some ways, it's okay to be the person who waits for the invitation. Let me explain that today. Because I think if you get it right in your own head, if you figure out what kind of person you are, I think it helps. I think it helps in our confidence and our understanding of that whole dynamic between women and friendship. So I would consider myself an initiator. I have some women in my life who I truly enjoy seeing, and I find myself pretty consistently reaching out because I enjoy spending time with them. And that's the first question you need to ask yourself. There's no reason to lose any of the relationships in your life that fill you up, people that you enjoy being around, people that you get a good laugh when you're with. There's no point in losing those relationships if there's an imbalance and you're always the person reaching out. A lot of it has to do with the dynamic between the two of you. So number one, do you want them in your life? Do you enjoy being around them? And then ask yourself, have you trained people to wait for you to reach out? Because the more I thought about it, with some of my friends, I think I've done a little bit of training. I think they're so used to me reaching out, and I've shared before that I have owned a business for a very long time. I was the mayor of my city, and so yeah, if you probably looked at my Facebook page back then, I've been out of office a little over 3 years now, but if you looked at my Facebook page back then, you'd think I was, my calendar was full. I was so busy. And what I realized is there were people in my life that I really cared about, friendships with women who didn't feel like they wanted to bother me. So sometimes it's what we're putting off. We're presenting this life, sometimes on social media, sometimes we just travel a lot. Sometimes people know that we have grandchildren that we're helping to care for, an elderly parent that we are caring for, someone in our family. And so people tend to worry that they're bothering you if they pick up the phone and call. and it becomes easier and easier to not reach out, and then so much time has gone by that we feel awkward and uncomfortable reaching out. So ask yourself first, do you tend to be the planner? Do you tend to be the initiator? I have to laugh because when I think about myself, I realize that even when someone reaches out to me and says, hey, would you like to get together for lunch? I'm like Johnny on the spot. Okay, how about this date, this date, this date? How about this restaurant? How about this time? It's just the way I operate. And I think that gives off a signal to people that they would rather wait for me to reach out because I seem to be very clear, concise. I don't want to say pushy, I hope not, but you ask yourself sometimes, okay, what kind of person am I? But I think I come across as somebody who knows what they want to do, has their calendar, knows their schedule, and I'm excited when friends reach out to me, acquaintances, neighbor reaches out, but I think I tend to be the person that does the initiating. So many of the commenters were saying, I'm sick and tired of always initiating. If I don't initiate, they never will, and so I'm just going to let it go. I understand that, but all I would say, and what I say to myself is, do I want to run the risk that I won't ever hear from them again? And then what is going on in their head? If they're used to me initiating and all of a sudden I stop or you stop, what is your friend going to think? Are they going to think that you just don't want to spend time with them anymore? You're too busy, you don't care, you've moved on? That's a risk. I feel as we get older, it's more important to be flexible, to not look too deeply into things, to take friendships and relationships and special acquaintances for what they are, for the enjoyment that we get out of them. You know, so many of the women comment that it's gotten harder and harder as they get older to make friends. And unfortunately, as we get older, we lose friends. So we're not really in a position often to be too picky. Obviously, you don't want to be in any relationships where you are not treated with respect and dignity and kindness. But we're talking about, if I don't call her, she won't call me. Okay, fine. But if you know that when you do call her, she's going to be thrilled to hear from you, you know what? Just chalk it up. Sometimes we train the people in our lives to be responsive or to wait on us. And if you are that person that waits, you know, maybe you're not confident in picking up the phone. Maybe it bothers you if someone says no. We're not all made the same. If you reached out to me, or if I reached out to you and you said no, honestly, it would not faze me. I would probably reach out to you 2 or 3 more times, and then I would get the hint and I would give up. But we're not all the same. We all come at this thing called friendship from completely different places. And the other thing I'll remind you, and I have to remind myself of this all the time, is that by the time we get to our 50s and our 60s, our 70s, we've had a lot of friendship experiences along the way. Not all great, and that's okay, and we've moved on from them, but what it's done is it's colored how we handle interactions with other women. Sometimes it is just easier to not do anything, to not reach out for fear of getting hurt. So I may meet someone who I click with and I enjoy being around them, but I really don't know their history. You know, I don't know what they've been through in the previous, 45, 50, well, I'm 67 now, so the decades and decades before they met me. So think about that whole idea of initiating. Is it really that important to you? Now, it's one thing if they're always coming to your house and you're always cooking a meal or making lunch or having them somewhere where you need to be you need to be the hostess. It's a different thing that we're talking about today. Today we're talking about people that you truly care about, that you are meeting, you're meeting for lunch, you're meeting for a cup of coffee. And that's the other thing I'll throw in here at the end is, if it really does bother you, if someone in your life just doesn't seem to ever reciprocate, you have two options. You can pull back in the sense that you're not going to have them to your house where you have to clean and vacuum all morning. Let's face it, we all do it. And run to the grocery store and make something nice, for them to have, and, run around. Okay, that's not fun for anybody. So you start moving the relationship to a coffee shop. You make it easy on yourself. And that way, if they cancel at the last minute, or, you're just not having a good time, it's really easy to get up and say goodbye. Okay, the other thing you want to think about is, are you a little bit, I'll use the word overwhelming, not really sure if that's the right word, but, have you trained them to the point where they just think that that's the dynamic in the friendship, that they've accepted it, it's been that way for a really long time, they don't want to rock the boat, and they are assuming that since they're okay with you always asking, that you're okay with always being the asker. If you have to, ask, right? Especially if you're an asker, right? Just say to the person, hey, we haven't seen each other in 2 months. I'm sorry it took me a while to reach out, but please, if, a couple weeks go by and you haven't heard from me, I would love to hear from you. Sometimes it's just about tweaking the dynamic in the friendship because we want people in our life. I think as we get older, whether you're looking for people to spend a lot of time with or a little bit of time with, we enjoy having people in our life. We enjoy doing things, trying things, having new experiences, and just make sure that whether you're the initiator or whether you prefer people to reach out and initiate a get-together with you, that you are respectful of your friend, of that relationship, and that you're communicating with them so that everyone feels that, they're getting something great out of the relationship, which at the end of the day is what it's all about. Well, thanks for stopping by the channel. I hope you'll subscribe and join our conversations about women as we navigate friendship as we get to our golden years. Take care. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.